This show is intended for all audiences, but some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener caution is advised.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Quest. I'm your host, as always, Dr. RPG Jeff Harvey. And this episode may sound a little weird to you. I don't have a co-host on today's show, but I am going to be joined a little later on by Liz Theis, the Community Development Manager over at Lone Wolf Development. She's going to be here to talk about Realmworks, and I know we've talked to Liz before. So if you want to catch up on the show we did before, you can find it at thequest.geekfeedshow.com/Liz Theis. That's LIZTHEIS. And you can listen to the entire episode there. It's about an hour and 45 minutes or so long. And we get into everything from Realmworks into, what's your favorite color. We do the normal interview questions with her on that episode. We don't do them this one, although I do throw one of them out there. And there is some exclusive, semi-exclusive, not really exclusive, hear it here first kind of, not quite hear it here first kind of news that she's going to drop on you in this episode about some things coming up for Realmworks. So, be sure to listen all the way through. I know that didn't make a lot of sense and was kind of a terrible sales pitch, but so be it. I also know that we've talked about going to Gen Con this year. Gen Con is right around the corner. Unfortunately, the Quest nor Geek Feed are going to be at Gen Con this year. We did everything we could to get out there, but unfortunately some things came up and we're not going to make it. I do have some videos from Gen Con 2014 that are still not up. I'm going to get those finished up real soon, I hope, and I will get them out as some to give you guys a chance to watch them and give us feedback on them. I'm also going to I'm reaching out to a lot of groups that I was going to interview this year as follow-ups to last year's videos that we did that obviously I'm not going to be at Gen Con to do, but I will get those interviews somehow or another, hell or high water. I will find a way to get those interviews and we'll make them a reality. Everything from Benjamin Loomis from Sirenscape all the way to the crazy cats over at Spartan Games. I love those guys. They got some great stuff coming out. And we've also got some stuff coming up in future episodes. We're going to review D&D 5th edition. I'm going to do some stuff with Hero Lab. I've got some stuff coming in for a couple of the adventures for 5th edition D&D. A review for, if you listen to the last episode's John interview with Jeff Combos, we've got a copy of Revelations of Mars, and I'm going to totally do a review of that and some other games like Luchador from Spartan Publishing. And we just got lots of stuff coming up. There's a lot going on with the show. Please stay with us. And again, I want to thank everybody. I don't do it enough. Thank everybody for giving us a download and listening to the show. It's amazing you guys allow us to do the stupid things that we do on this show and the inane rambling that I do. And I don't want to ramble too much. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, any kind of feedback you want to leave for this show, any questions you want us to ask any upcoming interviewees or anyone you'd like us to interview, please shoot us an email at questions@geekfeedshow.com. Be it questions for the Quest or questions for Geek Feed, anything you got, send it to us. And again, you guys can find us on iTunes and everything else, but you can find us on the web at geekfeedshow.com. And you can find the Quest at thequest.geekfeedshow.com. There are other shows coming in the future. We're trying to work towards video. It's going to be, we've got a lot on the horizon, but again, I'm rambling and I don't want to do that. So let's talk real quick about Gen Con. I've got some news bits here that I want to talk about. So without any further hesitation, let's do the quick news bits here. On July 13th, Peter Atkinson, founder of Wizards of the Coast and co-owner of Gen Con and filmmaker of The Devil Walks in Salem, announced a new project called, and please forgive me if I mess this up, Chaldea, Chaldea, which will make a debut exclusively at Gen Con, which they call this a premiere when it's a movie, but a premiere exclusively at Gen Con Indianapolis. The screening will take place at midnight on Saturday and Sunday morning in the Westin Grand Ballroom number 3, and will feature a live Q&A with Atkinson, Steve Conrad, and Duke Seyfried. Seyfried? My name's, you guys know how the show goes. Anyway, created with longtime collaborator Stephen Conrad, Atkinson developed these directly from scenarios that were played by his RPG campaigns back in the day, by his actual players in RPG campaigns from dating back all the way to 1982. Chaldea brings those moments to life in a transmedia web series using motion graphics, music, sound, and even live action sequences. Quote, every game master dreams of seeing that one particular magical campaign coming to life, says Peter Atkinson, CEO, director, and executive producer. Steve and I spend years honing our storytelling and world building skills playing Dungeons and Dragons and other RPGs. Chaldea is an amalgamation of those experiences rolled into one, and there's no better place to show it off for the first time than Gen Con Indy, end quote. It sounds like a good idea. It sounds like it could be a lot of fun. Chaldea has traditional fantasy roots with dragons, elves, demons, etc., mixed with real world places and times in history, such as Rome, Babylon, the Teutonic Knights, and other real world panthos, such as the Norse gods, Egyptian deities, Greek, everything, all brought together in one epic tale, which is an innovative blend of filmmaking, comics, and fiction. The pilot episode, Chaldea War Room, features real-world legends and historical miniatures, and Gen Con's industry insider, guest of honor, Duke Seyfried, playing a fantasy version of himself as the old toy maker. In real life, Seyfried is famous for his stunning dioramas and miniature collections, two of which can be seen in this episode. All throughout Gen Con Indy 2015, fans will be able to visit the Chaldea booth in the exhibit hall at booth 2332, I believe, to play the Chaldea experience and a walk-up role-playing experience designed by Jonathan Tweet, as well as meet and greet with the creators and everybody, including Jen Page, Sarah Moore, Duke Seyfried. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. There's also been a lot of great giveaways and everything else. You can find out more again at booth 2332 at Gen Con 2015. I'm kind of mad that I'm not going to be going now because of these kind of things. Big time stuff. Other news coming out of Gen Con. New York Times bestselling author and illustrator Tony Dieterlizzi has been announced as the official Gen Con 2015 artist guest of honor. I don't have a lot of information to give here, but I will give you guys a link to the show notes, a link in the show notes to the announcement on dieterlizzi.com. That's DITERLIZZI.com. And again, a show note. I'll have a link in the show notes. You may know Tony from the Spiderwick Chronicles, but he's also well respected throughout the communities as an artist, including receiving the praise of director of Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, and Pacific Rim, Guillermo del Toro, who says in the foreword of Tony's new book, which he's there at Gen Con to promote, the new book is called Realms, the role-playing game art of Tony Dieterlizzi. Guillermo del Toro does say in the foreword, quote, Tony's work has a distinctive flair, a love for monsters, if you will. His creatures have the charm of Henson or Rackham, but they carry with them the hints of their own ecosystem. He stands alone as a creator of worlds and as a weaver of tales. May you treasure these art pieces as much as I do. So that's something to look forward to at Gen Con this year. A lot of great information on him available on the websites. Not my website, although I will have a link to the information. But Dieterlizzi is his work is it's outstanding, and it does really have a very Henson-y feel with just a wonder of their own, kind of a distinctive kind of magic. So big news there. Sorry, I lost track of where I was. Other exciting news is that Warpo, the team that brought you the retro action figure line Legends of Cthulhu, which has now become truly legendary amongst collectors, is going to be back at Gen Con this year to be the proud recipients of Gen Con's marketing fellowship with a booth filled with Cthulhu activities and critically acclaimed Legends of Cthulhu action figures. They're also going to be the hosts of the epic Cthulhu All-Star Summit, which will culminate in a live-action seance for the ghost of H.P. Lovecraft. For those of you looking for more information on that, I will again have a link in the show notes, hopefully to the Call of Cthulhu Legends action figures. But Warpo, along with co-sponsor Paizo, has assembled some of the industry's leading city experts to host the first Cthulhu All-Star Summit, taking place Saturday afternoon in the Paizo Seminar Room 233. Join moderators from Paizo, creative director James Jacobs, and Warpo president Brian Katzel, along with Sandy Peterson, Kenneth Haidt, and occult expert Brandon Hodge, as they discuss the impact of H.P. Lovecraft's stories and characters on a particular culture and their work, on popular culture and their work. The panel will hold some fantastic prizes, and will culminate into a live seance conducted by Brandon Hodge to entice H.P. Lovecraft himself to join the festivities. So yeah, there's that. Gen Con attendees will also will want to visit the Warpo booth number 2939 in the exhibit hall, where they will be greeted by the mighty Cthulhu himself. Get their pictures taken in front of a giant photo wall that puts them inside their own action figure package. Collect all 4 free daily Legends of Cthulhu buttons. Gen Con fans will also get their first look at the new 12-inch Cthulhu Standard, 12-inch glow-in-the-dark edition of Cthulhu, and the Legends of Cthulhu Collectors Club kit, all of which will be on display at the Warpo booth, and the full line of Legends of Cthulhu 3.75 action figures and select Kickstarter premiums, such as the LOC coloring book and posters, will be available for purchase as well. Warpo's Costume Cthulhu will be making his way around Gen Con, as well as hanging out in the Warpo booth, providing an opportunity for fans to take and post a pic to social media with the hashtag Cthulhu is coming. One lucky winner will be chosen from the social media feeds each day to win a signature series Legend of Cthulhu figure, and in the final drawing on Saturday, a chance to win one-of-a-kind 12-inch Cthulhu glow-in-the-dark edition prototype. The winner must be present at the Warpo booth at the time of the drawing to win. So, sounds like a lot of stuff going on there. And I know I just read the entire thing to you, but I'm actually really excited about this. I like the action figures. I don't actually have any, but I'm excited by them, and I really like the Cthulhu mythos and the idea of having a seance at Gen Con to try to summon Lovecraft. Not sure if that's a good idea. Lovecraft and Cthulhu and 35,000 or 50,000 nerds in one place. It's going to be an interesting experience. That's all I have for news for you guys. And I know I dragged it on a little bit longer than I should have. But without further ado, let's get to that interview. I am joined today once again by Liz Theis, the Community Development Manager over at Lone Wolf Development. How are you, Liz?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this morning?
I am better than some, worse than others, I suppose. Liz, you were on the show way back in April of 2014 to talk about RealmWorks, a tool that was designed to help manage GM campaigns and player interaction with the campaigns. For those listening to the show, you can find the original interview at thequest.geekfeedshow.com/Liz Theis, spelled Liztheis, if I spelled correctly.
Yes. The easy way to remember how to spell my last name is it's 2 words, the and is, just smashed together. Exactly, yeah.
And again, you can listen to the show, that episode. We get to talk a lot more about, a lot more with Liz and about what RealmWorks and all that is. It's a pretty long episode, so you'll be ready for that one. I will have a link in the show notes if you want to find it there. But before we get too much into what we're doing today, let's talk a little bit about where people can find you and Lone Wolf Development on the social medias.
Yay. You can find us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is Lone Wolf Devel. And you can also find us on Google+, just Lone Wolf Development. And then you can find RealmWorks on Facebook. You just search for RealmWorks and you'll find us there. If you want to follow me for some reason, I'm also on Twitter. It's just my name, Liz Theis. I don't know. Some people decided that I am fun to follow. I don't understand why. But I post about gaming and yoga and a lot of random stuff.
Nice. You can also catch Lone Wolf Development on the web at wolflayer.com or RealmWorks at wolflayer.com/RealmWorks. That's easy stuff.
Yes, exactly.
So So a lot's happened in the last year and a half since you were on the show, and especially in the
Mhm.
world of Realmworks. But
Mhm.
before we get to that, let's do a real quick recap of what Realmworks is and how people would generally, how it came to be, and how people would generally use the basic Realmworks.
Yeah, so Realmworks is a campaign management tool for role playing games. All role playing games. It is setting neutral, which is nice. If you're familiar with Hero Lab, one of our other products, that's game system specific. We have it for Pathfinder, Shadowrun, but Realmworks was specifically designed to be game system neutral, and it allows you to create and store the content you need from for your games, whether that's text or images and sounds, and then it links it all together. And one of my favorite parts of the tool is that you can then reveal that content to your players as they travel through your story. So that's sort of the short elevator pitch. If you want to learn more, like Jeff said, you can check out my other interview with
Right.
him back in April.
Yeah, and you can also again check out the website. There's all kinds of information on the website.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a pretty decent Google Plus community, actually. I'm pretty impressed with that. So
Yeah, we love our Google Plus community. There's also, if you're on Facebook, an unofficial fan-driven community, and then our forums are just amazing. I sort of wade in there every once in a while when there's a question that a community member can't answer, or Rob, our owner, will wade in there. But it is a very strong, helpful community.
right. So like I said before, there's been a lot of new things that have come around in the last year or so, year and a half, including
Mhm.
the player edition, the web edition, and some other things like that. Let's talk about the player edition first. What is the player edition?
Yeah, so the Player Edition released at the end of 2014, if I can remember correctly. Everything blends together, my goodness. Um, it allows players to have their own copy of Realmworks, but they aren't creating content. That's the GM, right? But what the GM can do is he or she can reveal pieces of information, and in Realmworks we call them snippets. So if they are venturing through a dungeon and they come across this letter, right, the GM would maybe reveal the snippet of information that says you come across a letter in the dungeon, and then at the end of the session, they'll sync their realm, their world up to our servers, and then the players can see that all that information in their copy of Realmworks. So it's a great reference not only in between sessions but also at the game table. Suddenly they have all of the information that they've learned throughout all of the game sessions, so you don't have to spend a half hour, an hour recapping previous adventures, because they should have it all in front of them. And just like the GM copy of Realmworks, all of that information is still linked back and forth to each other. So if you have, Bob the innkeeper, and you come across Bob the innkeeper in another town, that mention of Bob the innkeeper will be linked back to the all of the information that they've learned about Bob the innkeeper in throughout the adventure. So it's hyperlinked. There's also, plot diagrams. So if the GM has spent time creating a plot diagram for their campaign and has revealed that as they've gone through the game, the players will also have access to that. But it's very GM driven. If they haven't revealed the content, the player won't see it. So
Right.
it's a really cool tool. A lot of our users have said that it's been a useful tool for them, and we're looking forward to continuing to improve that. And we're also really looking forward to when that comes over to the web.
Right. And players can take notes and things like this on their side.
Yes. Yeah.
Can
Mhm.
the one of the questions that I got from the community was, can the players' notes be seen by the GM?
That's a great question. No, user notes are all secret to the user. We might in the future allow GMs to see players' notes, but that would be something we'd add down the road.
Right. Okay. That's something that I would personally like. I like to see what my players are thinking, because I tend to write my campaigns based on the things they say. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, A lot of GMs has a negative connotation, but it's there's been so many times where I've heard a player say something and go, "Oh my gosh, that's really cool. I should steal that idea from them."
Right.
Like with them just sort of like, "I wonder if it's this." It wasn't, but now it's going to be.
Exactly. I mean, when you've got six creative minds sitting on a table, it's much better than one. So you were talking about being able to use Realmworks around the table, and I know that
Mhm.
my group of players is fairly easily distracted. I mean, it's a great GM resource, but having four or five people sitting around a table looking at their electronic devices, iPads or whatever, can really derail a game. So, how
Mhm.
does Lone Wolf really envision players using the software?
Well, if that's something that your group would have trouble with, then by all means, just say no laptops at the table. And
Right.
I still think that Player Edition would be a valuable resource in between sessions. Now, if you don't think your players will use it, well, again, your players. But I it's one of those tools where we think it will be valuable for enough users that it's worth us creating it. But if you say no, my players aren't going to use it, that's fine. We're not going to try to force you to use Player Edition. You can still use Realmworks GM Edition. We think it will still be incredibly valuable
Right.
for GMs, even if they don't use the Player Edition
Right.
part of it.
So far, my players personally haven't used the player editions, but I've been using the GM edition since I picked it up about a year ago, a little over a year ago,
Hmm.
and I found it pretty useful. I use it for a Star Wars campaign, a vampire campaign, which I've lost track of. Thankfully, Realmworks helps me keep track of it, and I'm working on another campaign now, a D&D Fifth Edition campaign that could be interesting for. So
Yeah,
I know that while the necessarily the laptop version, so Realmworks is currently only available for PC, correct?
correct.
Okay, so obviously the iPad and all that, those kind of things wouldn't matter. So you'd have to have a laptop or something sitting at your desktop. But I know you're also working on a web version, and
Yes.
I know personally that online gaming is becoming a big growth area for gaming in general, and a lot
Hmm.
of people could be using Realmworks for that effect, that advantage. I know you've been working really hard on the web version of the software. So can you tell us a little bit about what the web software actually is and where you're at with it currently?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we currently have the web version of Realmworks in development, and there is a short video preview that's available on our website and on our YouTube channel to just give you an idea of what it's going to look like and some of what it can do already. We're going to have actually a preview version of the web version at Gen Con. So if any of you listening are going to Gen Con, come by our booth 1054 and we'll show you a preview of the web version. It's really great. So to give you an idea of like our ultimate goal, our plan is that the web version will catch up to the desktop version in terms of functionality and probably at some point even surpass it. And the reason that's our goal is just because, internet technology is just becoming more and more ubiquitous. And we think that in time, the need for a disconnected version of something like Realmworks is going to be so small that it just makes more sense for us to put the resources into a web version. Now, when that happens, who knows, right?
Right.
But that is our ultimate goal. And when the web version releases, it's going to be a lot, it's going to be focused especially on, at the table use for the GM. So there's going to be, you're going to be able to basically see your work in the web version and run a game from it. Um, there might be some sort of very limited editing capabilities, but for the most part, it's going to be, you do a lot of these very, very extreme editing on the desktop version, and then you can run or share it with your players through the web. And over time, we will include more of those content creation capabilities in the web version. There is going to be a player edition. I say that very loosely. If you could see me, I'd be doing air quotes. Um, name to be determined, but player access through the web version. And there is going to be a free level of player access through the web version. What that looks like, we're still determining, because that might be based on how we basically get through some of the development and decide what's going to work best for players and get feedback from players, what they need. It's likely going to be something along the lines of players can see a certain number of, we call them topics in Realmworks. So Bob the Innkeeper is a topic, the dungeon is a topic, etc. A certain number of topics for free, and then if you want to see more than that, then you pay, and it's probably going to be similar cost to what player edition is now. So a handful of dollars for full access through the web.
It would be a one-time fee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I know a lot of people are always worried about the long-term model of paying subscription fees to things they don't really use, and so
Right.
a one-time fee for that's actually really good. That's actually the one thing I was looking forward to Realmworks a lot, was the ability to use it at the desktop, or at the table for the players. I mean, I think that having the option of having the online ability to on an iPad, just real quick go through the notes the players, a player has already had, and see the things that they already knew, being able to scroll back through real fast. That's very good, and I like that. You're targeting more of a, for what I see as more of a GM friendly at the table kind of assistance to the game, as opposed to a way to just corral the giant world that you created and make sure everything is kept straight. I think that's what Realmworks has been really good at so far, is corralling everything, but I haven't found it particularly personally useful for the players themselves, partially because, again, they don't have the players versions, and I don't want them to have the laptops at the table. But a web version of that sounds like a really good idea, and it's something that, especially if there's a low cost entry or a single time cost or something like that, I think that's something that would really help a lot of players. And I get a lot of feedback from other people who listen to the show who talk about looking for ways to be able to maintain that level of connectivity with their players, and how their players always seem to take bad notes. But if you're giving them the notes that you've written and they were taking notes on top of that, it really does, I think would help with the game a lot, help a lot of campaigns.
Exactly.
And yeah, go ahead.
So I do want to point out that we are building the web version to not only be usable from a desktop, so a laptop or a PC, but or Mac, but it also is being built specifically for touch technology. So tablets, especially, but the developer is keeping phones in mind as well. It might not be completely optimized for a phone from the initial release, but that is a long time goal, because we know not everyone has a tablet. They're expensive.
Right.
But a lot of people have a smartphone.
Yeah, most people have smartphones that I know anyways. I think it's interesting to see the level of work that has to go into transitioning from a desktop platform into a web-based platform, and then to optimize it for the various browser types, Safari and Google and Firefox and, God forbid, Netscape. I know I do a lot of web development stuff, and I know Netscape is still out there. So, and then you've got the new ones like Edge, which is just coming out, with Windows 10 and everything else. So I had a couple people ask me a question. They said they were having a hard time installing the program on Windows 8 and 8.1. Do you guys know if it's going to be compatible with Windows 10, which is coming out, what, 3 days ago?
Yeah, so I'm honestly surprised that they are having trouble with downloading on Windows 8. 8.1. I currently have it installed on my Windows 8.1, and it works beautifully. So listener, if that's you, please contact us at support@wolflayer.com, and I can help you out with that. And if you've already contacted us, I'm sure we are helping, because I don't see a support case with
Yeah.
your name.
I'm not sure how long ago they had the trouble. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah. So to answer your ultimate question of Windows 10 support, yes, we have tested all of our products on Windows 10 and they work smoothly. We haven't come across any issues. In fact, we just posted on our website saying, "Yay, everything is supported on Windows 10." So we are ready
yeah.
for the new version.
I personally already knew the answer because I've been running Windows 10 since January, but and again, I
Got it.
using RealmWorks quite a bit, but I wanted to make sure that somebody heard it from you guys.
Yes, for sure. It is official.
Yes. When I'm not sure you can answer this one, but when can we expect any kind of level for the the web version?
Oh goodness. You know, I I'm really hesitant to even give an estimate because even if I give all sort of qualifications of this is an estimate, someone will say Liz Theis said,
Right.
and I think a lot of our users and fans have seen that we've really been shifting away from giving estimates, and that's truly because we didn't meet them, and
Right.
we are open and upfront about that. Yes, we gave people hope in the past of things being out by a certain date or a certain time frame, and we know it's a huge letdown for our users, and people feel burned by it. So I am sorry, but I'm going to tactfully avoid
Decline.
that question. Yeah,
That's fair.
tactfully decline.
There have been a lot of people who have said that because Lone Wolf development hasn't gotten met a lot of the deadlines, that they're very unhappy with those things. What are you guys
Yep.
doing to try to win back those people, those faithful people who really wanted to? A lot of them were Kickstarter people.
Yep.
What are you guys doing to try to make up for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you see some of the responses from myself and Rob on our forums, especially, we know that we lost a lot of faith from some of those Kickstarter backers by making those not promises, but basically saying, yes, we think this will be out by X date, and then not meeting that. So we're trying to, like I said, not give those estimates anymore, but also try to give people an idea of how development is going. So, saying we are working on this now, or, we've met this milestone and now we're working on this. And we're trying to explain how what we're working on currently works towards the larger goal. So, for instance, when we were working towards Player Edition, a lot of people were saying, well, why are you working towards Player Edition? I want the content market. And so we realized, oh, wow, we know internally that the Player Edition is a huge milestone towards the content market, but they don't know that. So
Right.
let's explain it. Let's help everyone understand how, yes, we're working towards this one thing, but it's actually really important for the content market. And so even though it's not the thing that you want, it's a part of the thing you want. So yay, let's work towards this. So we're trying to explain how all of the pieces fit together. Another thing that we've really been trying to do a lot of is get user feedback and get them involved in the development. So that's why we did a huge survey at the end of the year, where we had, I think, nearly 1,000 people participate, both RealmWorks users and non-RealmWorks users, prospective users, basically, telling us what they wanted to see in RealmWorks. And it was really eye-opening for us, because some of the features that we thought were going to be, definitely number one, clear winner, weren't as important for some people.
Right.
So it helped us sort of be able to work towards features that were actually important to the majority of users. That doesn't mean that we're not going to put those other features in. It just helps us sort of narrow our focus and make sure that we're working on the items that our features or that our users want to use.
Right. And you mentioned the content market, which is something I'm going to come back to in a minute, but I want to wrap up the
Mhm.
stuff on the web version first. I had another question that came in that was, what's the difference between the player edition and the web version? And why would somebody with the player version want to get the web version, or why would somebody with the web, why would somebody not just wait for the web version to come out as opposed to getting the player version?
Yeah, so the difference is that the player edition version, the desktop player edition version, I mean, you can be disconnected. So if Liz's My Basement doesn't have good Wi-Fi connectivity, and
Right.
you want to bring your player edition to the game, um, totally fine. You can do that and not have to worry about having a good internet connection. If you want something now, you
Right.
you can purchase the player edition, and not have to wait for the web access. One thing that I think not many people know is that our plan is that you're going to have a Realmworks account. So if you have Realmworks GM Edition, and down the road you're like, wow, the web version can do all of the stuff that I want out of Realmworks, you aren't going to have to purchase Realmworks again.
Okay.
You use your Realmworks account to use the web version.
Right.
So it's one product. You purchase the product in desktop version, but you can still use the web version. And the same goes for player edition.
Right. So one of the common things that I've seen amongst people, both in reviews of Realmworks as well as questions on some of the Google Plus pages, is that Realmworks is really big and intimidating. There's a lot of
Yeah.
open potential that can be, it can be really overwhelming.
Hmm.
I know several people that have purchased the software who don't use it at all. What advice would
Hmm.
you guys give to people who are just starting out, or who have already grown frustrated with the software, to try to get them back into it?
Yeah, so we we are aware that it is a big program with a lot of different options, and part of that is because GMs are just so different with how they approach
That they are.
uh, how they approach content development, how they approach even just running a game. So part of I think what we found as creating the software is that nothing like this to the scale has really ever been created before. So we were designing it and going, oh, we need to add this, oh, we need to add this, and designing a program like that can be complicated. And what's really nice about the web version is now we're creating that version of the product, knowing the various pieces that are going into it now, as opposed to when we were creating the desktop version.
Right.
So the web developer is trying to keep all of those different pieces in mind, and especially while he designs the UI. So part of the web version goal is that it's going to be less intimidating when you approach it, and you can see some of that if you look at the sneak peek in the on our YouTube channel or on our website, and definitely if you come see the preview at Gen Con. I know personally, when I look at the web version, I'm like, oh yes, I can totally handle this. Whereas I'm not a very tech heavy person, so I was that person that was looking through the documentation, was watching the YouTube videos when I used Realmworks for the first time. So I definitely get where people are coming from. I think you're going to be really pleased by what you see with the web version. Now, if you're trying to approach Realmworks now on the desktop, and obviously you don't have the web version as an option, I really, really highly recommend that you take a look at our tutorial videos. They are incredibly helpful and valuable to help you sort of get an idea of how you can approach things. We even have a whole video on, you're this kind of content creator. Well, then we recommend you get started with this. So we put a lot of time into making those. I hear there's a really awesome girl named Liz that does the voices for it. So I really recommend that you do that. If you also like to read, we also have very extensive documentation. I said that because I know there's people that like that sort of thing. I am not one of those people, so I really stuck to the YouTube
Yeah.
videos. But we have tools out there. We also have our community on our forums. They're just phenomenal. We've had a number of people come and say, I want to get started. I don't know where to start. This is what I want to do. And people have jumped in, usually within a half hour, saying, I recommend you do this.
Right.
And most of them have said, great, that helped me get started. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So those are my recommendations. And if you have a specific thing that you're looking to do, feel free to even just send me a private message on our forums. That I'd be more than happy to give you a recommendation.
Right. I know that for me, it took just getting over that first initial hump to get into it and really get going.
Yeah.
One of the things that people have been asking, I know, is if there's any example content. I know you've answered that question a couple times on the forums, but for me, the question I actually wanted to ask in this is, I know that, again, some people get intimidated by the size of Realmworks and the fact that it is system neutral and setting neutral. Is there a way that's even remotely fairly easy to tailor it more specifically to a setting or a system that allows people to be that would make it more friendly for people to get into it? Like you wanted a Pathfinder game or a Legend of the Five Rings game or Savage World or Hollow Earth Expeditions. Is there anything like that or something like that in the plan for the future?
That's a great question. I know there was an idea that we had a while back to sort of have tailored categories for themes, so like a fantasy theme or a sci-fi theme, etc. That would be that's a feature that I think the development team would totally agree if I said that's a nice to have, and nice to have in terms of like compared to the content market and the web version.
Right.
And some of those features that we consider
Crucial.
a part of the core product, right? So it could be one of those things where if we see enough people asking for them on our forums, that we'll throw it onto a future survey and say, hey, how many of you would like something like this?
Right.
That's honestly how we put together our feature survey at the end of 2014, was just, people had been asking for certain things. And we anything that had a ton of people saying, yes, please, this, we put it on the feature survey.
Right.
So if you're looking for that, go ahead and add it. In terms of what you can do now, I mean, you can turn off and on certain categories, certain tags under the customization section of Realmworks. So if you want to just tailor those specifically, you can easily do that in the customization section. Now that requires more work than just toggling something on and off. So if you're comfortable customizing, go for it. But a toggle on fantasy would require more development on our end. And that's not something in the immediate future anyway.
Right. So one of the questions that comes with that, and it's one of the technical questions, one of the only ones I have, when you're doing the tailoring, if you tailor it for one campaign and you create a new campaign, is it still set to that tailoring, or is it per campaign you create that the tailoring would happen? Like if you're going in and changing things like that?
Yeah, it's per realm or per campaign, I guess. And once the content market is online, you will be able to, if you want to, create like a template realm, and then be able to make copies of it.
Right, which would have then led me to the next question of was what I asked before, the ability to have basically a skinned version of Realmworks available, something that might be available through the content market, and I think you just answered that. So
yes.
So basically, a user would be able to. We didn't talk that much about the content market yet, so let's do that now. The content market, as you guys have touted it before, was supposed to be something where players can customize their own stuff, upload it, and download official things through, say, Paizo or I don't remember the other one you guys said you have currently, or you have ready to be worked, I suppose. But
Correct.
That is,
So
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say that we have a number of publishers on board. We don't have anything official with Paizo, though we are talking to them. Just want to be clear.
Right. I know that there was talk on some of the different things. I know that a lot of the preview videos make me very jealous because I see all the stuff for Rise of the Rune Lords, which is one of the campaigns that I've run. And it would have been very nice to have all of that information right there at my fingertips. It would have been fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So every time I watch the tutorial videos, I see all of that information there, and I'm like, dang it, it would have been nice. So I know that in conjunction with your content manager, content market, and you said you're not going to tell us when you're not going to give us any estimates on that one. That's one of the ones I'm personally really looking forward to.
Yes.
On your Kickstarter, on your Kickstarter page, you guys announced that you're going to extend your cloud service to post the launch of the content market.
Yes.
Can you explain why you guys decided to do that and how that affects people who currently have it, who it affects, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we realized that a lot of the people that wanted cloud service, especially through our Kickstarter, got it specifically because they wanted to take advantage of the content market. And we were coming up to the point where anyone with 6 months from March 2014 when Realmworks launched. So anyone who had cloud service for 6 months were coming up on their on the end of their time, and we didn't think that it was fair to them, fair to our supporters, fair to the people that said, this product isn't out yet, but we're gonna give you money to support this. We didn't want them to get the short end of the stick just because the content market wasn't live and we thought it would be. So we decided, we're going to basically pause the cloud service and just continue to have it. And we're gonna announce when, after the content market goes live, that the cloud service will end. We'll give people at least a month's notice that the cloud service will end if you had the 6 months. So we have a whole news post about it on our website. Jeff, I can give you a link if you want to put it in the show notes.
Yep.
But it's if you have Realmworks and you're interested about how that will affect you, I would encourage you to read that. And really, it's a great way for people to try out the content market, see if the cloud service is something that they want to continue, and if not, that's totally fine. We don't force people to get it. You can use Realmworks without it. But if you want to take content from the cloud service and weave it, or take content from the content market and weave it into your realm. So say you have a campaign world that you've created in Realmworks, and you want to take the Pirate's Guide to Freeport and sort of plunk that in your world that you have in Realmworks already, you will need cloud service. Now, if you want to take Razor Coast, for example, from Frog Gods Games and just run it as vanilla Razor Coast, that's something that you can do without cloud service. So you are going to still be able to use the content market without cloud service. It's just if you want to sort of mash your content with purchase content, we need something to handle that melding, and that's what the cloud service is for.
So you say that we talked about the Frog Gods Games thing. That's kind of the kind of stuff that's going to be available to purchase for download. Now, I had somebody ask me if players will be able to put things up for purchase and be able to make money on their original content or not?
Well, to do that, you'd need to have the GM version of Realmworks.
Sure.
You need to be able to create something.
Right.
Now, yes, you can. Our long-term goal is for Realmworks users to be able to create content and sell it or share it. Now, you were talking, Jeff, about creating that template for a fantasy realm.
Right.
If you thought it was really, really cool and you're like, you know what, I'll just share this with people because I think this is something everyone should have access to, you can definitely just put it onto the content market and make it available for free.
Right.
Now that sharing and selling of user created content is not something that's going to be available in the first iteration of the content market. The first iteration is going to be published content from people like Frog God Games, Green Ronin, etc.
Right.
But that is in the long-term vision.
Okay, so it's going to be more kind of like an app store.
Yes, correct.
Excellent. Again, I'll throw it out there just because I have it on my list of questions. But do you have any kind of estimate on when the content market will be available? I know you're not gonna. I know you don't, but
no. It would be me pulling a date out of a hat
Right.
based on what I think. So that really wouldn't be fair to users. Honestly, the best thing I can say is if you want to see how progress is going, sign up for our newsletter. And we usually have something in every newsletter about where we're at in
Right.
development and what we're working on now.
Right. So what's next for Realmworks?
What's next? Well, the next thing that users will see, big thing that users will see will be likely the web version followed by the content market. We also have a few smaller improvements to the desktop that we're hoping to get out when we return from Gen Con in mid to late August. So if you are a current desktop user, you should see some nice improvements to things like just the user interface and some link detection fun things. If you're a Realmworks user, you might go, ooh, yay. But we are still making improvements to the desktop version while we work on the web version. So we're not, hanging up our hats and saying, done with that old thing.
Right.
No, don't worry. we're still moving forward on the desktop version as well.
Awesome. So you were talking about Gen Con, and Gen Con is pretty much right around the corner. I think it's next week.
I know.
And while I unfortunately won't be able to make it this year, I'm really kind of bummed about that. I know I was really looking forward to it. Lone Wolf is definitely going to be there. What, if anything, do you guys have planned special for Gen Con 2015?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so we are going to have our booth as usual. It's in the exhibit hall. It's number 1054. And if you can't remember that, just head over to the author signing area and then turn around and we'll be right there. We're right across the aisle from the author signing area in the exhibit hall. We are sharing a booth this year with our friends at Sirenscape. If you don't know who that is or what the tool is, check it out.
Yeah, Benjamin Loomis. Benjamin Loomis does Sirenscape, and we've actually tried to get him on the show a couple times, and I actually have some recorded video from last year's Gen Con from him. It's a fantastic product, but
yes, and he is a fantastic guy. We love tools that will help engage people at the table and really immerse them in what's going on in the story. And my goodness, Sirenscape is all about that. So we thought it was a great partnership to have us in the same booth. So we're really excited to see that this year. So like I said, if I can't say it enough, if you haven't checked out Sirenscape, go check it out. They have a free demo, and there's some great sound sets just available for free. But I bet you if you try it, you're gonna decide, yep, I want this.
yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to get Benjamin on the show for almost a year. It's just never worked. Our schedules have just never worked out. So I'm hoping to get him sometime this year after Gen Con.
Yes, I'll mention it to him for sure.
Have you ever had any thoughts, and this is just me throwing it out there, any thoughts of possibly an integration between the two?
Good goodness. So yes, as anyone who's read our newsletter might have seen, we are working with Sirenscape currently on integration with Realmworks. So their recent release has third-party support, and you can actually use their new third-party support to create a special Sirenscape snippet in Realmworks. So this is how we're going to support third-party apps in the future. We're going to use the same technology for support with virtual tabletops down the line. We're already talking to our friends at T20 Pro. So yes, you can actually use Sirenscape in Realmworks, and we'll be showing off that integration at Gen Con as well.
Awesome. That's big. That's a big deal to me. I think that's especially the virtual desktop integration, and then having the immersive nature that is Sirenscape. I think it could really make a huge improvement, especially for people who game online.
For sure.
Big time.
For sure. Yes.
What else you guys got going on at Gen Con this year?
Oh, so again, as anyone who saw the newsletter might have seen, we are doing actually some Gen Con special promotions for anyone attending the show. Specifically, we're doing 2 bundles with Sirenscape. So you can get Realmworks and the Sirenscape Fantasy 6-month subscription for 15% off. I think it comes to something like $65. And when Realmworks, there's usually $50, and a 6-month subscription to Sirenscape is, I forget the exact amount. I think it's something like $25. That is right. a nice discount. And we also have Hero Lab and Sirenscape's new 4-pack player sound sets.
Oh, nice.
Also on sale at Gen Con. So if you have been wanting to check out either any of those products, Gen Con is going to be the place to get them.
Nice. I will put some links in the show notes to the Sirenscape stuff, and if the newsletter is on the website, I will put it in that as well. Otherwise, we'll hopefully we'll have it in there. But
yes, I can get you a link to that.
Excellent. Anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Oh, goodness. I will put a plug out for anyone that uses Hero Lab. I know that's not what we're talking about here at the show, but if you're at Gen Con, if you didn't know this already, we actually have a Hero Lab character creation station in the Sagamore Ballrooms, which is where all of the Pathfinder Society games are played. So you don't have to be playing Pathfinder. If you're playing any game that's supported in Hero Lab, you can go up to our character creation station. We have 7 laptops with copies of Hero Lab on it. You can create your character and then print it out. And if you bring a flash drive, you can even come back throughout the whole entire show and continue to update your character.
Nice.
So it's one of those things that we know that a lot of people don't bring their laptops to the show, and we want to make sure that we have Hero Lab available for you guys to use, and we're there from 7 in the morning until 6 at night. We have some amazing volunteers that help us out at the show, so just come on by and create your character.
Yeah, Hero Lab is an interesting product. It's not one I've ever actually gotten my hands on. It's something I'll see about getting into that and do an interview with that at some point. Talk about Hero Lab.
Definitely.
Normally at the end of the show we ask the 6 standard questions, but I asked them to you last time, so the only one I'll ask again this time is, because the answer can always change, is the giraffe question, which always throws everybody off anyways. So a giraffe walks into a bar wearing an eye patch and a brown coat. What's the first thing the giraffe says to the people in the bar?
Goodness. I forgot this question. He says, has anyone seen Mal around here? You left me on this planet again.
Yeah, I made mention the other day, I did some interviews with some comic book artists for the other show that we do, that only one person's made a Firefly reference in the show so far, and that was you in the previous one. So now you've made 2 of the Firefly references. So It's pretty much the way to
Oh
go.
goodness.
Um,
Yes, I love me some Firefly, so I'm
yes.
not surprised I said it in both both podcasts.
All
It's
right.
the brown coat. That's what gets me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a huge fan of Firefly myself. I'm not a giant Joss Whedon fan, as listeners can tell, but I do love Firefly, and Nathan Fillion is
He's
one of those
amazing.
nerd gods. So
Yes, definitely. I don't know what I would do if I met him in person. I'd probably go all fangirl on him.
yeah, I probably would do roughly the same. I met one of my favorite authors recently at when we did Geek Fan Expo last year, Timothy Zahn,
Nice.
and I had to take him
Oh,
aside and tell him that I was going to need 5 minutes of his time so that I could fanboy, and then we could get back to being professional. So it was pretty fantastic. All
yeah,
right.
I've done that every time I've met Will Wheaton. It's just like hold it in, right? I have to be professional, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Will is one of those people that I would like to meet as well. I've not had that opportunity yet, but possibly soon. So,
Yes.
anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I think we've covered a lot. And if anyone has any other questions, they are more than welcome to ask them on all of our social media.
Right.
I usually get back to people really fast.
Yep. And you guys can find Lone Wolf Development on Facebook at facebook.com/realmworks for the Realmworks stuff anyway. And Twitter at Lone Wolf DEVEL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Lone Wolf Devel.
Right. And then you can find them, of course, on the website at wolflayer.com. And you can find Realmworks at wolflayer.com/realmworks. So, all right. I don't think I have anything else. So it was good to have you on the show. I'm sure we'll reach out to you again at some point. We'll maybe reach out for the Hero Lab stuff at some point too. And we hope you all have a good Gen Con at least.
Thank you so much.
All right. On behalf of myself and Liz and everybody here at the I was at Lone Wolf Studios, but at the Wandering Pod Studios, thanks for joining us. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at all the usual locations at geekfeedshow.com, and follow this show at thequest.geekfeedshow.com. Send any questions you have for any future episodes or anything you want us to follow up with Liz to questions@geekfeedshow.com. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go back to New Orleans. You know it hurts me so. Baby, I'm way down here. You know I'm way down here. Baby, I'm way down here in a rolling fog. Baby, please don't go.